Have you started your scalp micropigmentation journey and not sure if after a few sessions it's heading in the right direction? On today's episode of the 5-Minute Fast Facts on scalp micropigmentation, it's all about what to look out for if you're getting a bad SMP result. And to help us out, we have two amazing guests with us today, Jana and Shannon, who are both SMP artists from ProMicro on the Gold Coast. Just a reminder, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so now so you don't miss out on any of our amazing episodes. I'm so excited to have you both here today because we're going to be discussing something that I know a lot of people have questions about. How do you know if your SMP is going wrong? And what are some of the warning signs to look for that when you're receiving a poor result? I can't wait to dive into this topic with you both. But before we do, why don't you tell us about the worst result that you guys have seen come through your clinic?
I probably have that one.
Yeah.
Probably a fellow who decided that it might be a smart idea to go to Bali and pay $200 for a tattoo artist to tattoo his head. It was shocking. So it was basically
really
just it was like a dripping Drake hairline, someone
bad.
called
Dripping
it.
Drake.
Yeah, so multiple sessions of laser to remove that one. It's probably the most shocking one to look at in person. But there's definitely a range of other bad ones that have come through.
Yeah, it's definitely an art form of its own. It's unlike body art, it's unlike permanent makeup, and it's no secret that things can go wrong with SMP because it is a newer modality out there. It's only been around that 10-year mark, so it can be quite scary and confronting when you see some of these results pop up.
Yeah. I think a lot of clients, they'll just, assume it's just dots on heads. How hard can that be? But it's really important to know that is a real skill.
There's definitely an art to it. All right, so it's very clear that you both have a real passion for what you do, and I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on this really important topic. What are some common signs or red flags that indicate that your SMP treatment may not be going as expected?
Okay, from the first session, I'd say impression inconsistency, different impression sizes. If all those little dots are big or small, or blown out under the skin, not appearing to be blending into transitioning into your real hair very well, incorrect hairline design.
So if the hairline's definitely too low and there's no coming back from there, a lot of this stuff can obviously be rectified between the first and second session. That's why we do things and we have stages and we have room to blend and adjust. But there are definitely obvious situations where you're going to have those big blobby dots probably close to the hairline, which are a red flag definitely. If the hairline's far too low, or the artist hasn't listened to you at all and you just don't feel comfortable.
Communication is one of the biggest factors. At that consultation, you have to be able to understand your client and understand their wishes, and if we don't do that, then that's when these errors are made. And as you mentioned, hairline design is one of the most important factors, and if it is too low and there's no coming back from that, we have some real problems. As you mentioned off air, there is a period between that first and second session. I always say the first session is sort of the ugly duckling phase. It's just the first layer, lower the expectations. So just because it's not full enough or maybe low enough, that doesn't mean something's going wrong. It just is keeping our options open for that second session when you may know better what you want.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. That's right. And that's probably a good first session, really, if anything, is that it might not quite be there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not a failed treatment, that is progressive. So from the first session, do you feel like you can read the signs that something's heading in the wrong direction?
I'm seeing a lot lately, I find too, like different methods of application. I feel that a lot of artists are trying to smash out fast sessions using that sort of 3D technique. I'm personally not the biggest fan of it. That it's just going at different depths, so it's lightening up inconsistently. So you're going to have a scattered, patchy, settled first session.
Yeah, I think when done right, that's great, but a lot of people run with it and they're not maybe skilled enough or trained properly in that sort of technique.
I think if you've got a really solid first session, majority of those impressions should still be visible and there when they're coming back for the second session. even though it's a lighter and a density, it still should be held.
So this is about that day 5, 6, day 7 when the client will wash their scalp for the first time. If the work just tends to disappear, that might be an indication that their artist is rushing the session, not spending enough time with the client. And that is also when we see the opposite. If we start to see some blowouts, they don't appear on the first day, they will appear as the week goes on in that first stage of healing. And so if you're starting to see some really deep impressions and puddled out work, you know something's going wrong.
Yeah,
it's definitely a lot worse than work that's not held. Yeah, it's definitely more of a red flag than anything, the blowouts.
So what are some of the steps that a client could take if they suspect that their SMP treatment is not turning out as they had hoped, and some potential solutions to overcome that?
As we discussed earlier, this is where maybe that client would decide to really do their research into where they're going to go. So have a good look at who is well versed in doing repair work, maybe someone who's quite experienced, and reach out to that person, make that contact. You know, we're all nice people and very sympathetic to anyone that's had a hard time. So make that, you know, first point of contact and say, hey, you know, can you help me? Where do we go from here? And a good artist should always be able to guide that person as to what they're going to need to achieve the result that they're looking for.
I think it's like a classic saying, like prevention is better than cure. I think doing that initial research is so important. Little signs to look for. Look for an experienced artist with a good portfolio of work that you align with and relate with. You can see yourself in that result. I'd be wary of artists that are doing very fast, short sessions and offering heavily discounted pricing. I think there's some few red flags initially to look for. If it's too good to be true, generally.
When someone's looking at repair work, another red flag might be when another artist just can jump in and say, I can repair that, and just wants to go heavy and dark straight over some poor quality work. I think that then just sends you even further down the hole of not achieving that natural result that they might be looking for. So taking the time to go and have laser, I feel, is really important to clear the canvas. Otherwise, you're just putting bad work on top of bad.
And with laser too, before somebody, you know, jumps the gun and goes, right, I'm going to go get laser, please talk to a good SMP artist first about where to go, because there's so many different laser technicians out there as well. There's different types of laser. I think, you know, getting that proper advice, you know, from someone who knows a little bit more about SMP and what needs to be done in terms of laser, to recommend you to go somewhere good and reputable that is well versed in removing SMP is a good idea.
It's another treatment in itself that needs its research. I think most great SMP artists that are experienced in repair work like yourselves do have a good connection with a laser artist that you regularly use, and they are experienced themselves in scalp micropigmentation removal. A big thank you to you both, Jana and Shannon, for joining me today and sharing your expertise with us. You guys create some beautiful results at ProMicro, so you must have some really happy clients up there. All right, guys, it was so good seeing you. Thanks again. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks,
You
Caitlin.
too. Thanks, Caitlin. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you have enjoyed today's video, and we also hope that you've gained a better understanding as to what to look out for if you don't think your SMP is heading in the right direction. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to make sure that you don't miss out on any other of our amazing content, and head over to this video next to see another great 5-minute fast facts video.